interest myself that to have a scholar in the trade area like Dr. Sahu and a former Commerce Secretary, these are real assets, and I'm glad that they have been mobilized for a publication which indeed will meet, I think, a very important need, because I don't know whether this will also be available online. I suspect it will be, because many of the, and this is true of all statistics, many of the official releases are fairly clumsy. You need to know where to go, and to have it all in one place is important. I think that we are being reminded, most recently by the work of William Dalrymple in The Golden Road, that India is historically a major trading nation, and where we are right now is frankly an anomaly by the standards of the last 2,000 years. And so it is right and appropriate that whatever policies have held us back be reversed. And also, if you are going to be the third largest economy in the world, you have both obligations and duties and opportunities, as CEO has indicated. Here, other than acknowledging the work of the team and my colleagues, let me just make 2 or 3 sort of larger points, seeing this from the perspective of Viksit Bharat and maybe the next 10 years. So I think the first point is there's a micro dimension to trade and a macro dimension to trade. And so I think we need to be clear, as it were, what we want and what we are wishing for. What do I mean by the micro dimensions of trade? In some ways, growth is largely about, economic growth is largely about 2 kinds of gains. The gains from innovation and the gains from trade. And the basic theory of this was set out by Adam Smith and then David Ricardo, that by specializing, you gain productivity. And so rather than just be restricted to your small local market, you can expand specialization. So a very large part of the growth in productivity is the gains from trade. And I would say this is just as important domestically as internationally. Here we're focused on the gains from global trade, and those are important. But let me just say that as we think of rising productivity on the route to in the Samvit Kal, and think about GST, infrastructure, these are all also designed to stimulate growth through the gain from internal trade. And from that point of view, I do think we all need to work together to make sure that India does not fragment as a national market, a national labor market, national goods market. I don't think it will, but I think we need something like the so-called Commerce Clause of the US Constitution, which provided a constitutional basis, and perhaps it exists, for maintaining the integration of the domestic market. So that's the micro case, but what is the macro case? The macro case, we know, is that, or the macro context, is that the current account deficit, not the trade deficit, the current account deficit, is an expression of the gap between national savings and national investment. And so if we want, and we think we do, to have a vibrant investment rate, until we do something about savings, we should indeed welcome a larger current account deficit. And within that, we tend to have a large trade deficit because we have a surplus on services, both what are sort of priced services, but let's not forget the enormous scale of the workers' remittances. So because we have a floating exchange rate, we structurally will have a trade deficit. And because we want to invest, we will structurally have a current account deficit. As an economist, I think these are goods, not bads. And when somebody says to me, we're running a current account surplus and that we should applaud this, I worry, because that indicates to me that investment or the domestic economy is flagging. So I would say the second point is we should not be obsessed by trade deficits. The third point I'd make is an economy frankly gains more from its imports than it gains from the exports, because imports are what provide competition. Dr. Vidmani is right that through PLI and other such activities, we also want to encourage domestic production. But I think we have to walk a very careful line about not closing off imports to the point where we're cultivating local monopolies. And so I think that trade is not only about exports, it's about imports as well. And I hope that in future issues we will also be looking at the policies that drive, as it were, the direction of our imports, and not really think, because there's a theorem in economics which is a tax on imports is a tax on exports. So I think it is Niti's duty to keep the fundamental economics of this in mind at a time when, as Dr. Sahu has indicated, many of the erstwhile guardians of the global trading system, have chosen, for whatever reason, to have a rethink, particularly the United States. Finally, and I don't know whether the Trade Watch will get into this, I think India has to make up its mind, as now an increasingly big player, what attitude it wishes as a supporter of a revived multilateralism to take towards the WTO, because we've treated ourselves as an important but still somewhat peripheral player in the WTO, and the question of whether we have an interest in the survival of the WTO, whether we think we can be influential in the WTO, I think those are the kinds of issues. They may be a little bit more, if you like, edgy than something coming out of Niti Aayog, but I think those are important issues that Niti Aayog should put up for public debate. So, the time is getting on. Let me conclude by, again, thanking Dr. Vidmani and CEO for their leaderships, Prabhakar for assembling a team. He has kept me informed, but still I was very pleasantly surprised by the quality of the finished product, and I hadn't fully focused on the depth of the commitment that it takes to agree to a quarterly, and this will certainly be on my desk perfection. So thank you very much for that.